Welcome to the Nevcast, where three bros talk business, art, justice, and the pursuit of Jesus.
Any day above ground is a good day.
Get ready to laugh, cry, and kiss 30 minutes goodbye with Peter Nevland,
Dave Nevland,
and
Rashid.
Hey, my brother.
It's Rashid, the man of the hour.
Hey, how y'all brothers doing?
We're doing great. How you doing, buddy?
Ah, man, I'm just trying to make it, man. That's all.
That's
trying to.
How long until you drive a truck?
Oh yeah. It'll be here real soon. I'm waiting. Actually, I just talked to my instructor like right before you guys called and talked to him, so he's gonna get back with me later on this evening about when I start taking my test.
Cool. Awesome. Well, hey, Rashid, this is pretty cool because we have a special guest with us. His name is Adrian Van Zelfden. Doesn't that sound like an awesome name?
Okay.
Hey, hi, Adrian. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. My wife and I were going to try to rent a place while I was going to law school.
Yeah.
And we had a realtor, and the realtor said that she thought she'd struck it rich when she heard my name. Because it must be somebody who's really wealthy, which of course we weren't. But,
Count Van Zelfden.
Yes, Count Van Zelfden. It must be Dutch, right?
Is it Dutch or Belgian?
It's got to be Dutch.
Van or Von? One is
Van.
it's Van, and it's Dutch. And my grandfather was born on a farm near Rotterdam, Holland.
Cool.
And and came over sometime around World War One or slightly thereafter, or slightly before that. He and his brother immigrated to the United States and settled in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh,
Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids, yeah. We know. We got a cousin that lives there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I think they still live there. Pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
Might be two of them that live in there now.
Well, he's got kids, and his kids
Definitely.
have kids, and
Mm-hmm.
things happen over time. That's really cool. Now, Adrian, you are a CPA. You are also an attorney, which that's a pretty interesting combination. How did you decide, and how long did it take you that you're going to become a CPA and an attorney?
Which one did you do first? You had to do one of them first. You can't do them at the same time,
Well,
right?
and you do other stuff too. Like you got this incredible story because aren't you a pilot?
No, I'm not a pilot, but I did take the CPA exam and the bar exam within essentially a few weeks of each other.
Oh my gosh!
And that was a very long time ago.
No
and
pressure.
I'd previously taken the bar exam in Florida, which I passed. But then we moved to Texas, and so I took the Texas bar exam and the CPA exam. The CPA exam is a national test, so I could have taken that anywhere, but I took it here
Right.
in San Antonio. Went down to San Antonio and took that test.
Wow. And so I said, weren't you a pilot? You said you weren't a pilot, but didn't you go to school at the Air Force Academy?
Yes, I went to the U.S. Air Force Academy and got a BS degree in engineering, and was a young junior officer in the Air Force during the tail end of the Vietnam War, and a bunch of my classmates flew in that war.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to get into the Air Force Academy, so that's a big accomplishment just to do that.
Yes, apparently there are even now. Of course, it's been a long time, but there are like 11,000 applicants for each person who's chosen, or something like that. I'm not sure of the exact statistics,
Right.
but I hear that as an alumni from time to time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So we were talking on another episode that we just did. We were talking with EJ Rathburn, who's a financial advisor, and we were talking about the emotional staying power of investing. And I know I want to start here and ask you this question, Adrian, because it seems like most accountants have a certain view of how to make more money, and you seem to have a different view on how to make more money. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. There are essentially two pathways in the United States. One is to get a good job with a big company and stay there for a long time and build up a pension plan and live on that after retirement. And the second is to either go work for somebody as an apprentice and get better at a particular job, and then open your own company and become a business owner. And there are some others. I mean, some people get rich in real estate, and others have family wealth because it's passed down through inheritance and things like that. But the two I just mentioned, the working for a company and building up a pretty good pension, is one very common method, and the other common method is starting your own business.
Yeah.
And of course, most of my practice is with people who've done the second. They've started somewhere with no money and kept going and kept going, and finally figured out how to do their business and became very financially stable through working on their own business.
I mean, that takes the most help. That requires the more help with business management and with money management, probably, right? More help than building up a pension and letting the big company do it.
Yes, of course it does. And there are. I'll tell you a story about. I had a guy who was a PhD at the local university here in neuro kinesiology, and so he was really smart. I mean, he'd gone through and gotten a PhD and really knew science and things like that. However, he had been, as a teenager, had gotten interested in martial arts and had stayed with it during all those intervening years, and to where he was like the third or something in the whole country in his particular martial arts specialty. And he always wanted to quit teaching and quit teaching at the university level and go and open his own studio for martial arts, which is what he did. Which in some ways is sort of crazy, because being a college professor and getting tenure and things like that is a very good way to make a living. But he was so enamored with martial arts that he did that.
Wow.
And I got him as a client about 3 years after he was into the martial arts school. And he one time told me during one of our visits that if he'd known how hard it was going to be, he would have never done it.
Wow.
Because you have to find a place, and you have to deal with a landlord, and you have to decide, do I want a short-term lease, do I want a long-term lease? And then you have to pay the payments every month. And then same thing with electricity and phone and that sort of thing. And then once you get a little bigger, then you have to start hiring employees and dealing with, and he didn't have any previous training in dealing with HR and other sort of things associated with employees, much less dealing with payroll and payroll tax, which are really complicated.
Yeah.
And so, and of course he was happy in the choices that he made, but he had no idea it was going to be so hard.
Is there I'm not even aware of like a university program that prepares people for what it actually takes to start and run your own business.
That's why
are you aware of anything like that out there, Adrian?
So there are business schools, and there a person can get a major in business and even a master's degree at MBA in business.
Yeah.
No, you got to, yeah.
But those the problem with academia is that it's taught by professors and other academics, and they don't really have a real world view of what it's really like in the actual world, because they're not in that actual world.
Yeah. Now I supposedly went to one of the best business schools in the country, and I thought I would learn that, and I was very disenchanted as I was getting further along in there that is not what I was learning. I mean, by maybe your senior year, you're getting taught by some professors that have had experience in it, but as far as starting a business, there hadn't been, and I think there are now. I've heard that there are more more bigger business schools that actually have a track in the undergraduate level where you can go into entrepreneurship and stuff like that. But that wasn't like that in the 90s. You could only get into entrepreneurship if you went to graduate school and got your MBA. And that was disenchanting for me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I was wondering, what am I learning? I'm not learning anything.
Rushy, what did you find? Because you have your own business. What did you find that you were ever taught that prepared you to run a business, or were you ever taught any of the things that you've needed in order to be able to run your own business successfully?
What was I taught?
Yeah, were you ever taught the things that you needed to run your own business successfully? Where were you taught them, or were you ever taught them? Like, where'd you learn them?
What you say? What I couldn't use clear that. You said what was I taught? Or how was I taught?
Yeah, how did you learn the things that you needed to know in order to run your business successfully?
Oh man, I had a grandmother who was like a military instructor coming up in life. So since I was little, I actually had my own lawn service when I was like 8 years old.
Huh.
So I've been working. I've been working since I've been a kid. So we would go around the neighborhood, cut yards, and I worked for a man in the neighborhood named Mr. MC. He owned a construction company, so he would let us do shingles and tear down sheetrock. There's a lot of like odd jobs, and my grandma, she like taught us about saving like that, and she was like real strict on us. Like we have to probably get up and work 5, 6, 7, 8 hour day on a Saturday and water the yard, wax the floors, clean all the cobwebs down. So she was on us like that. So she was real strict. And then when she had her Alzheimer's, she caught her Alzheimer's. She kind of like stopped doing it, but for years she had us. For years she like was teaching us that, because my grandma, she had a business. She had a cleaners. She had a cafe, and what else she had? A damn pool hall. Yeah. So I was taught since an early age. It was instilled in me since I was a kid.
So you didn't learn it from like any schooling or anything like that. You basically learned it from family that you knew or people that you knew. Yeah. It was just
coming up in life. Yeah.
It sounds real common.
When you had the cleaning franchise, did you learn it from the people that you got the franchise from? Did you learn anything from them?
No, actually, I'm gonna tell you.
Wow.
My mother actually, at one time, she had lost her job with IBM when we was little. So what she did, she started a cleaning business. Like when we was probably about 12, 13 years old, 11, I think around at that age. So we would go out with her. She had like 5 churches that she had that we did. So I started actually cleaning. I just went through, I got the franchise because they had the guaranteed contracts. They would go out and get you all the contracts and charge you a percentage. But I knew about cleaning prior to, buying my franchise.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Adrian, okay.
Essentially, that's a description of apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And that is, he was apprenticed to his grandmother and apprenticed to the some other things, and learned a bunch of stuff that you could not learn in school.
That's right. Yeah, we don't have a formalized apprenticeship process anymore in our nation.
No. Yeah, we don't. Oh, before we get too far away from it, Adrian, I wanted to ask you, your friend with the martial arts dojo, would you say he was a more Miyagi-Do or Cobra Kai?
Oh my gosh.
Or was he Eagle Fang? Anybody watching? I mean, it's two different schools of thought.
I never saw him have any students and stand behind him and say, wax on, wax off.
Yeah, that's right. Put on the jacket. Take off the jacket.
That's really
Throw
funny.
the rod. Reel in the rod.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it's a great YouTube series. I've only watched like the first half of the first season.
It's on Netflix.
Oh, it's on Netflix now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We finished. There's going to be 4. We just finished the 3rd season. There's going to be a 4th season.
Great.
Oh, so excited.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you're tuned in to what we're talking about.
Exactly
here,
right.
Dave.
Well, got to bring in the color here.
That's right. So I was going to ask you, Adrian. So if I'm a small business owner who's just started out, and I remember, when my small business was making, all grand total of maybe $10,000 a year or something like that, and I've heard you talk about, I remember I had these conversations with my wife, and she'd be like, well, where can we spend less? Where can we spend less, and all this kind of stuff? And I was like, that's not our problem. Our problem is not how much we spend. My problem is how much we make, and we need to grow that. Can you talk about that as far as, because I think most CPAs, like, okay, obviously you said you're an engineer, you went to the Air Force Academy, you're also a CPA and you're an attorney. Most CPAs that I talk to, they just want to talk about taxes and how to, you take those expenses and turn them into things that you can cut so that you can have more residual income. You have a slightly different approach from what I've heard. Is that correct? Or, there's some of that, but can you talk about more income, spending versus growing your income, et cetera?
Yes. I can't tell you how many times I've been involved with a person who had a business, and one of the people frequently, it's similar to your case. It's the wife who says that in order to have more profits, we really need to cut our expenses, and the simple math just does not work that way. In that you can cut expenses, and of course you need to be frugal and not overspend on things. But there's just not enough money in cutting expenses that even compares with revenue. And that is, if you have revenue, and a lot of businesses in our area go up in revenue about 10% a year, and maybe 5% per year.
Yeah.
So it's slow growth, but it's steady. Some don't make it at all, but the ones that do make it, it's slow growth, but steady. But if they could double or triple their revenue, then who cares about the expenses? The expenses sort of go away. They fade to nothing.
Right.
They have so much in the way of leftover profit that they don't have to be so careful with the expenses. And so if a person is going to spend time on their business, they're much better to invest that time in figuring out a way to get more customers, or get change the pricing, or or do a better job for their current customers, or get referrals or things like that. In other words, marketing and advertising and whatever, instead of spending the same amount of time on the expenses. And sure, spend some time on your expenses, because those are not unimportant. and you have to be careful with whatever you're paying for rent and electricity and insurance and employees and things like that. But you'll get a lot more. Not only you will get a lot more money coming to the bottom line if you concentrate on your revenue, and you'll have a lot more fun.
I was just about to say, this sounds like a whole lot more fun. That's what I was thinking, exactly that. A whole lot more fun. That's why you go into business for yourself, is not to cut spending. You don't go into business to cut spending. You want to go into business to make revenue.
Right. To help people.
That's right.
I mean, that's the water that keeps everything flowing. It keeps everything working.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So tell me about that process then. So a business comes to you. How do you, I mean, obviously you've got this different approach as a CPA. How do you get somebody what do you do to help them increase their revenue, to get more customers? Obviously there's advertising, marketing type stuff.
Well, the first step is just talk about it, just like I talked about it with you guys just a few minutes ago. That is, sure, the expenses are important and you need to be frugal, but that's not going to make as big of a difference as increasing your revenue. And then I just ask them, what are you doing to increase revenue? And they will have some answers. And then I'll say, well, what have you thought about doing that you haven't done before? And then I will maybe do some other questions that have to do with marketing and advertising. I mean, do you have a newsletter that you send out to your current customers? Have you done any radio advertising? Have you done any direct mail advertising? Things like that will get their revenue up. Another one is pricing. Almost everybody I talk to initially, and so the initial stages of our relationship has prices too low. They think that that's the way to grow their business, is just to have the lowest price in town, and therefore they'll take a lot of competition or a lot of customers away from their competitors. And in some cases that's true, but in other cases, in many cases, it's not. That is, you don't want to be the lowest price in town, because that's perceived as being cheap and crummy. And of course, maybe you don't want to be the highest price in town, but that's but you ought to flirt with that idea.
Yeah. Nice.
I mean, what the difference between a $10 bottle of wine and a $30 bottle of wine is that if you do a taste test, both of them will come out with the same. Whereas everybody in the world will think the $30 bottle of wine is better because it must be better because it's more expensive, and that's just an example. And it's not true. It's not true across the board. I mean, a lot of your shoppers will be very price conscious, but not all of them will be.
Yeah, it's interesting. Me being a Wizard of Ads partner, marketing guy, oftentimes I'll show my clients that, half this study done by Richard Grant, 60 million different Myers-Briggs types, and at any point in time, there's roughly half the population are in transactional buying mode, and the other half of the population are in relational buying mode. And transactional shoppers, they only care about price. They'll spend their time trying to find the lowest price, and they don't have any long-term loyalty type of stuff, whereas relational shoppers, they don't have time. And so price is not their problem. They want to make sure they don't make a bad decision. And they actually are concerned about long-term loyalty, because they want to have a guy that they take you to, and they actually represent much higher profit margins. But 90% of advertising dollars are spent on transactional, acquiring transactional shoppers, and only 10% are spent on acquiring relational shoppers. And the relational shoppers, not only do they make up half the population, they make up 80% of your profit.
Wow.
And, so.
But the transactional shoppers are the ones that everybody sees because they go to this place, they go to that place,
right.
They go to this place, they go to that
They
place.
They account for 80% of the visits and 20% of the profit.
Yeah, you didn't already say that, right?
No, I didn't say 80% of the visits. That was a good point.
So when you write an ad, do you mention price?
Possibly.
Yes, a lot of the time, but it is not. I mean, you don't necessarily. Sometimes I'll write an ad intentionally mentioning a price that is larger than other people who are offering that same price because, we say, and we provide the contrast that it's not this. For example, in heating and air conditioning, it's not a cheap tune-up. It's real service with real benefits and it's still at a price that people can afford. It's just not $39. It's $139 or $132 or something like that.
Well, and it also usually what they guarantee that it's that your thing's not going to break down for the whole year. Yeah. So. Yeah. So there's a lot of the price is first, and then a lot of things. You get this, you get this, you get this, you get this. Oh, and plus, this is guaranteed it's not going to break down for the whole year.
Okay. What about the air conditioning companies in the marketplace who are competing with your client? Do they try to sell on price?
Yeah.
Or in their advertising, do they emphasize that? Oh, this is really cheap and the special deal, and
absolutely.
It only lasts through Thursday, and those kinds of things.
Yeah, almost every time I go into a market, let's say somebody's in Cleveland, I got a new client in Cleveland. I went and researched all the heating and air conditioning companies in his market. I only found one that didn't have any coupons or discounts. There was only one, and that was the largest company other than him in his area.
It's like they're all advertising as if they're a restaurant or something.
Right.
Like you're going to buy an AC system 3 times a day.
Well, so all I'm saying is everybody who competes based on the lowest price, they all end up being about the same. They have a ceiling. They can't get any higher than that, and so they have a ceiling. But if you get out of that mode, that the 50% of the people that nobody's talking to have so much money. They spend so much money that you can just make scads and scads of money. You can increase your revenue substantially. And I mean, even one of my clients said, he said, I can easily go into any franchise and I could easily help them make more money like that overnight. And I was like, oh, how can you do that? He goes, the first thing you do is you go in and you look at them almost every time. You can say, you just need to raise your prices.
Well, in my situation, I'm a tax guy.
Yeah.
And which is my primary thing to deal with federal income tax. And so that's why people come to me, because that's what I'm known for and that sort of thing. But as the relationship goes on, then I end up talking with them more about those kinds of things. I mean, I'm not going to write an ad for them or whatever, right. But I will try to ease them away from their previous view that all their customers are very price conscious, to the view that they can reasonably and ethically raise their prices and accordingly provide better quality products or services to their customers. And initially, especially brand new business owners, that's a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And it takes me a while to convince them that that's probably a good idea in their particular case, and we work on specifics and that sort of thing. But that's not the why they came to me. They came to me because of federal income tax.
Yeah, right. Well, and you're really good at helping them with that too. I mean, you help me with my taxes, and I mean, I can just say, Adrian said when I first started working with him, you told me, Adrian, you said, well, I could easily, save you $10,000 a year right away. if you start working with me. And I was like, really? And I thought I'd figured out the way to do that, which I sort of did, but it was not what he had thought. And so then whenever I started working with you, Adrian, and listening to your advice, taking your advice, and everything like that, that first year, I think we saved like $14,000 just because we took your advice and did what you said. And we had to spend a little bit of money to do that, but anyway, so I mean, thank you.
Well, the way I handle that is I frequently people will ask me, well, if you're going to do my tax return, then, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that, how much will that cost? And I will sometimes, depending on whether or not I think the person has a sense of humor, I will say it won't cost you anything. It's essentially free because I will save you so much money in tax that it will be more than the amount that you end up paying me. And so just take your example that,
yeah.
I mean, you didn't spend $10,000 or $13,000 or whatever the first year you and I were working together.
No, I'm almost embarrassed by how little I pay you, Adrian.
and so it's and I'm pretty careful with that. If
Right.
there's somebody I don't think I can really help and I can really save them a material amount of tax, and I'm not talking about off the wall, borderline illegal, squirrely things, but just regular type of planning. Then then I feel pretty comfortable that yes, I can save this particular person, $600 in tax, or some amount of number in tax every year. Then that might be a good fit as a client for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I have one more thing that I wanted to ask you. And you had said to me a little while ago that you had noticed a pattern between people who give and their income. Can you talk about that? And then I want to hear from Rashid too, because he's been real silent and listening. I'm guessing, Rashid, you've just been like, this guy is pretty awesome listening over there.
Oh, yeah. When he spoke on, I had asked the customer exactly. That's why I was over here smiling, because the customer had told me one time that I asked the customer, would you prefer somebody that comes with you with a low price or with a high price? And she basically told me, she said that I would actually go with the higher price, because a lot of people, just like he said, have the preconceived notion that if it's low, it's got to be something bad about it. And I think in actuality, that's true, because sometimes you can go to HEB, and you go to HEB and you see, oh, I got 10 burritos for $2. And you look at them and they'll have all of, the bacon and eggs and sausage and stuff on there. But when you go up in there, they just have when you open it and you buy it, you just say $2 for the 10 burritos. And you go in there and you get it, and it's just cheese inside the tortilla. versus you go and you get you something that says, I got 3 burritos. Well, I'm just chunking a number out there, $13, and you go in there, it's like some of the best burritos you tasted in your life. So that's what customers say. They would like automatically assume, like, why are they selling it this low? Why you're not good? So if you got confidence in yourself and your service, you want to give a good price, but not too high of a price that'll run a customer away. But I asked like a couple of customers, and they said, man, I like to go with the higher price. I don't like to go, with the price is too low, because I know 9 times out of 10 they're gonna come in and do a crappy job.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think burritos are a good example. And on the other end of the scale is brain surgery. You want the cheapest brain surgeon in town?
Nice.
Or no? I mean, some guy just out of school who's only done one operation in his life, and those kinds of things. And of course, depending on your financial situation, you may not be able to afford to spend the most expensive brain surgeon in town, or unless you've got good insurance, this, that, and the other. But you want somebody who's really good at that.
That's right.
And of course, it's a lot harder to do brain surgery than it is to cook up a burrito, but it's the same concept.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There are great similarities between them.
So getting back to that question, I know we got onto burritos, but so Adrian, you said you noticed this thing of people who give.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, when you charge more, you probably have more possibility of giving. But even when you're not charging more, you can still give. What's that pattern that you noticed there? I just thought that was amazing.
Okay, one of the elements on a tax return is that if a person itemizes their deductions instead of taking the standard deduction,
right,
then one of the things that you can put on that Schedule A itemized deductions is charitable contribution. And so somebody like me, who might be doing the tax return or working with the tax return, will see that number. And some people put zero, and other people put a lot of money. And it's been my observation, and this is not scientific at all. This is just among the people that I've done tax returns for, but I've done hundreds, maybe thousands of tax returns. But anyway, people who've done, who generally every year make pretty substantial contributions as a percentage of their income.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people talk about the tithe, which is 10%, and some of these clients I've got do a regular tithe. Others make more substantial contributions, and others make something less than tithe. And then I've got a whole lot who just give zero. I mean, they might take some whole clothes to Goodwill now and then, but that, roughly that's about all. They don't they don't write checks and things like that. And so, that's just what I've noticed. And and of course,
the people who make charitable contributions.
Over time, I've come to think that it's important for me to notice that, because these are the people who are going to be more successful.
Oh, that's okay. And, yes, right. People who have higher charitable donations are more successful.
Therefore, I ought to pay more attention to them. I ought to do a better job for them. I ought to try to think of something else they could do to save some money in tax and whatever, because they're different from the clients I've had who, were in a different category.
Interesting. So you're saying what you've noticed is that people who make more charitable contributions, they're just more successful.
Yes, and I'm talking about everybody from. I've been doing this for a really long time, for 40 plus years. I haven't earned my 50-year pin yet, but I've had some startups who've done extremely well, and in early years, I mean, they made some charitable contributions, but they weren't much. But then later, more and more and more. And so, as contrasting to the startups who, and of course, you don't expect anybody who doesn't have much money to be able to give much, but the startups are otherwise not as wealthy people who make no charitable contributions. They don't seem to do as well.
Yeah.
And the other people seem to do better. In some cases, spectacularly better.
That's amazing.
And I can't. Part of it is hard work and talent, of course. People who work hard and have a lot of talent, of course, do better. But I can't exactly correlate it that way.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. So something else is going on there. That's hard to put our finger on.
There are two different words that apply. One is correlation, and the other is causation.
Causation, yeah.
And I'm starting to tend toward thinking that causation is more important than correlation.
They'll
both apply in this case.
Yeah. Man, I wish we had longer. Maybe we'll just have to have you back some other time, because you got some really cool stuff out there, Adrian. You put out your Tidbits in Time Almanac, which you put out, which I'm sure people can sign up for it and get in touch with you that way. How can people find that and get some more of your stuff? Because it's really interesting stuff that you're constantly finding.
That's I do a daily and a monthly almanac of interesting stuff that's going to happen that's happening for that day or for that month. And it's called the Tidbits in Time Almanac. And if you just, anybody just sends me an email, then I will put them on the list, and they'll get a free sample. In fact, it's free anyway. I mean, the monthly and the daily are free, but it's just Adrian, Adrian, at tidbitsintime.com.
Adrian at tidbitsintime.com. Awesome.
Yes.
That's great.
It's TIDBITS.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on, Adrian. I'm sure in the future, if we wanted to have you on again, would you be happy to come on again and talk even more about some other cool stuff?
Oh yes, I'd be glad to come.
That'd be awesome.
And I appreciate the chance to hang out with you guys today.
No problem.
Same here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, thanks so much, and thank you guys for listening, watching the Nevcast. Check us out. Obviously, you can sign up at all the different podcast things that are out there, and we'll talk to you next week. That's it for the Nevcast this time. Join us next week when we talk justice, business, and art in pursuit of Jesus. We will see you soon.